Hello and good morning, everyone. Welcome to Exploring the Motherland, African News with Garth. I'm your host, Garth. I hope everyone is enjoying their day today. We have quite a bit of news to get into. Let me do my intro and we will get right to it. Exploring the Motherland here at Exploring the Motherland, we are basically an extension of a Quest to Unite Africa. We are here to promote the mission of Quest to Unite Africa. Now, I know you're saying, Garth, what is the mission of Quest to Unite Africa? Well, luckily, I'm here to tell you. Quest to Unite Africa is a nonprofit charity where was created to promote economic development and critical infrastructure for the benefit of the African diaspora and the African continent. We achieve this mission through our four main initiatives, that being business, medical, technological innovation, and cultural engagement. But we're not just going to only talk about the mission of Quest to Unite Africa here at Exploring the Motherland. We are going to connect the dots and go deeper and show you how what is going on in Africa is relevant to our mission here at Quest to Unite Africa. So thank you for joining us and let's begin. Nigeria bids to placate youth to avert looming inflation protests. Placate meaning they're trying to soothe youth to prevent, another word for avert, looming inflation protests. So basically what's going on in Nigeria is the government is trying their hardest to dissuade the youth from protesting. Now, they are protesting because they are tired of bad governance and poor living conditions. I'm going to play the clips and they're going to relay the main points of it, and then I'm going to talk about it, how it relates to our mission here at Quest Unite Africa, and then any comments, just any feedback, or if you want to ask any questions for any further understanding, don't be shy. All right, let's go.
Now let's turn our attention to Africa. A wave of protests is spreading throughout the continent. It began in Kenya with protests against their budget, or the finance bill as they call it. Then they spread across the border to neighboring Uganda, and now Nigeria is gearing up to become the third protest hotspot. Young Nigerians are preparing to march against the government. They plan to hold peaceful protests next week on the 1st of August. And this has scared the Nigerian establishment. The country's president, Bola Tinubu, issued a warning on Monday. He said the protests were the work of some sinister people. And he asked Nigerians to not join. The next day, Nigeria's police chief joined the chorus. He said the protests were ill-advised and that the police would not sit back and watch. 2 days later, the Nigerian military chimed in. A military spokesperson said the protests may lead to anarchy. He said that the army would not allow Nigeria to spiral out of control. You can see how rattled the authorities are. Every arm of the government is trying to stop the protests, and not just with threats. On Tuesday, Nigeria doubled its minimum wage to try and diffuse public anger.
Only today, the National Assembly has expeditiously passed the new national minimum wage. You can see how the president is working. It was transmitted only yesterday. Today, it has been passed. A lot of other interventions that the president has also put in place are also going to be looked at expeditiously in the interest of Nigeria. So there's no need for strike. The young people out there should listen to the president and allow the president more time to see to the realization of all the goodies he has for them.
He made that appeal to the quote-unquote young people out there because they are the ones who are organizing the protests. Just like in Kenya and Uganda, across Africa, it is the young people, members of Gen Z, who are organizing the demonstrations. Gen Z is planning the protests using social media. Nigeria's Gen Z are mobilizing under a social media hashtag #EndBadGovernance. The protests in Kenya were also organized under a hashtag. It was hashtag Reject Finance Bill 2024. That's what they called their budget. And this was when the protests had started. Now it has changed to hashtag Ruto Must Go. It reflects the changing demands of the Kenyan protesters. Protests also broke out in Uganda this Tuesday. They were organized using the hashtag March to Parliament. So it's a similar story in all these countries. Young people are fed up. They're also tech savvy, so they're using social media to come together and challenge the entrenched powers that be. The protests are also being broadcast in real time on social media on platforms like X and TikTok. The world can see live footage from the ground, footage of police brutality or military heavy-handedness whenever it occurs. The Gen Z protesters are sharing this footage, which leads to more public anger and therefore more protests. It shows what a powerful tool social media can be and how it can put governments on the back foot. However, this is not the first time that something like this has happened. Protests have been organized on social media before. They've inspired similar demonstrations in other countries and even brought governments to their knees. All of this happened in 2011 and 2012 in Africa itself and parts of West Asia. It was dubbed the Arab Spring. The protests originated in Tunisia and spread like wildfire across North Africa and West Asia. Their anger on TikTok and X and all back then. Well, Gen Z won't be caught dead using Facebook, but they're expressing their anger on TikTok and X. And this anger has already spread across 3 African countries. More could follow. And the reaction in Nigeria proves one thing: an angry and vocal youth is every government's worst nightmare.
All right. And I failed to mention, that's my bad, that all the links to these articles and YouTube videos are in the description box. And yes, the Nigerian government is trying to stop protests, and they're concerned about the influence that all these other African countries like Kenya and Uganda has been spreading, and they are literally trying to do something that they should have done a while ago. They're trying to create a business initiative to help answer the, I would say the what's the word? Their discrepancies for the Nigerian youth. They are trying to create business initiatives through doubling the minimum wage, and also they are offering state oil company jobs, and they're also giving out billions of dollars in grants. But again, it's too late because they waited too long, and they waited for other countries to influence their population, which is never good. They never made the time to make a relationship. Here at Quest Unite Africa, our favorite word is relationship. We're trying to make relationships that benefit both the diaspora and the African continent as a whole, as I said earlier in the intro. But this lends to how they are just fed up because they are waking up and they are tech savvy. As the lady said earlier in the article, they are tech savvy and they are seeing people on social media stand up to bad governance and bad conditions, and that's only going to inspire more African countries, and especially Nigeria, one of the biggest African countries, one of the most populated African countries, one of the countries that has the most GDP, gross domestic production. And how could their population live in squalor? That doesn't make sense because they're producing so many goods and they have so much industries. But the problem herein lies is that they don't have control over those industries, or they don't. There's a disconnect within the government of them having these resources and the people seeing nothing for it, or even getting any type of jobs or any type of economic future. And I also have another article regarding the protests in Nigeria.
Nigerians are organizing nationwide protests this week to address the most severe cost of living crisis the country has faced in decades. With significant support building on social media platforms, authorities are apprehensive about a potential recurrence of the fatal demonstrations against police brutality that occurred in 2022 in this West African nation, or the possibility of unrest akin to the recent protest in Kenya, which erupted in chaos in the capital, Nairobi, following a tax increase. Nigerian President Bola Tinubu's government is committed to avoiding this situation. Local media reported on Tuesday that organizers of the planned protest in response to escalating economic hardships on Thursday have rejected a proposal from Nigeria's police to hold rallies in confined spaces. Human Rights Watch commented that the officials' response suggested a troubling readiness to stifle dissent.
All right. So, as I was saying earlier, there needs to be a relationship between the government and its people, and they need to know what their citizens need in order to survive and in order to thrive within that nation. And Nigeria is just dropping the ball. As you hear the president, he's talking about it being sinister to stand up for your fundamental right to exist within your nation and to be able to have the pursuit of happiness and liberty and just the standard of living. That's evil to him, I guess. But here at Quest Unite Africa, we want to make a strategic relationship, and I'm just going to give you an example of how we would reach out to young Nigerian brothers and sisters. We could, on our own within the African diaspora, we would be able to have like job training initiatives through different businesses or business owners. Here in America, we could also have some type of apprenticeships where they could come to America and learn from someone in their trade or someone that is currently a professional in whatever field they want to get into. And we could also have grants that go towards job training and education, as I said before. But we see what Nigeria is doing. They're not doing it out of love or out of creating or fostering like a beneficial relationship. They're just doing it to not lose control, which is never good. All right, and the next article. French nuclear fuel company reports significant losses amid challenges in Niger. So basically, Niger has smartened up and has created a new cultural perspective within Niger. They want to retain their own minerals, especially uranium. Uranium is a huge mineral. It can do so many things. It could help change a country's critical infrastructure overnight. There's so many things you could do with uranium. And Niger was saying, why are we allowing these companies to come in and export our minerals, especially uranium, without any type of incentive for us or any real profits or return on investments for us? And I'll play this I'll play this video, and it will go more into detail, and we will talk about how powerful this is and how we could create relationships that foster economic development and critical infrastructure.
The French nuclear fuel specialist reported a loss of 133 million euros for the first half of the year, according to results presented on Friday. This contrasts with the first quarter of 2023, when the company posted a net profit of 170 million euros. This year, however, the company is facing difficulties. One major issue is Niger's decision in June to strip the company of the Umuraren mine, the largest in the world, with estimated reserves of 200,000 tons. Additionally, Somer, the subsidiary, 63% owned by Orano, is struggling to export uranium from its airlift operations in northern Niger. This is due to an export ban imposed by military government in Niamey, which has been in power for a year. In response to these challenges, the company was forced to sell its uranium production, originally intended to finance the closure of the site.
All right. As you could see, straight forward, that the French company Orano lost its mining rights. The company Niger said enough is enough, and they took a cultural shift, a cultural engagement, if you will, a cultural initiative to just stop allowing foreign actors or any entities outside of Niger doing any type of bad business practices or just not doing any business that is beneficial to them. Here, Niger is creating many new economic opportunities by banning uranium exports, because they now could have they can now kind of regroup and think about how they want to use uranium and how they want to market their uranium mines and what can they do with the uranium that they have. And they would want to seek people that will help them in that avenue of distributing their own exports and how they could use their own mines to benefit their population. At Quest Unite Africa, another huge word we do here is consultation. And I could see us here consulting the people of Niger on sustainable resource management, meaning how can they sustain their mines, what are the best practices on upkeep of those mines, and how they could reap from those mines. And another huge potential opportunity I see here is technological advancement, because uranium is such a powerful mineral and has many uses. You could use uranium for cleaner energy and electricity. You could use uranium for nuclear imaging and various other things besides nuclear, power and, for weapons and all that good stuff that the West likes to promote it for, or like whatever they use it for. But I see here that there's an opportunity to have consultants through any person here within the African diaspora who has who's mined before, or knows mining practices or sustainability practices that can help, grow their market. Because again, the French, the French were basically their main exporters of that mineral, and at the same time, you could tell that the French didn't really let them know how much potential they had in their resources, and they were just basically giving them pennies on the dollar for uranium, something that is literally could change the nation overnight. And what's happening in Niger is just literally tantamount to what is just continuing to happen. Just this change of perspective on what is going on, and how is my own government treating me, and how are we living in such destitute conditions, and everyone is benefiting off of our resources. They kind of finally woke up to that deception, and it's a great thing to see. All right, and I have one more article and I'll spare you. Rwanda spearheading Africa's surgical revolution. Basically, Rwanda is inaugurating a company known as Institute for Research into Cancer of Digestive System. Basically, they are an entity that specializes in medical training and research, more specifically in minimal invasive surgery. And their initiative is a medical one, and they want to train not only doctors in Rwanda, but doctors throughout the African continent in minimal surgery techniques. And what makes this so powerful and important is that in Africa, they're still using traditional surgeries that produce longer periods of recovery and also are a lot more painful. And by making this initiative, not only do they help the young, savvy or young, motivated doctors on the continent, they are helping the quality of life for the people in Rwanda and the continent as a whole with this initiative. So I will play the video and we will talk about it more.
Launched in 2023, the Institute for Research into Cancer of the Digestive System has become a world leader in advancing and teaching minimally invasive surgery, a modern medical technology that minimizes pain and trauma on patients.
I can assure you a lot of heroes are being developed here. A lot of legends are going to come out of this lab. And this is a welcome development, not only for Rwandans, not only for Africa, but for the whole world.
To date, the center has trained more than 300 African surgeons, a key boost to the continent's efforts to produce the next generation of medical professionals in minimally invasive surgery.
As you know, on the African continent, more than 95% of the population don't have access to medical and surgical procedures. This is also one of the solutions we brought here in Rwanda, especially serving the African continent.
Many states still use traditional surgery that requires long and painful operations and long periods of recovery. Minimally invasive surgery is expected to reduce mortality associated with surgery in hospitals where there are poor health facilities.
Okay, well, you heard the gist of the video. This initiative helps the disparity between those who have access to high-tech surgical operations, and this initiative also lowers the mortality death rate of these type of surgeries, and it also trains and empowers the future medical workforce of Africa. And by doing that as a whole, you stimulate your economic development and critical infrastructure because your population is healthy. We take that for granted here in America. I could talk about when I was at I was for Quest to Unite Africa when I went to Burkina Faso. It was kind of disheartening and sad seeing some of the brothers and sisters who were there. I went to a hospital, or what they constituted as a hospital, and it was kind of a sad side of affairs. I remember seeing a lot of people just not only just in pain, but they were also outside waiting in the hot sun because they didn't even have the infrastructure to hold them all or have a waiting room or like a intake desk or an intake room where they could have people sit in the nice air condition and watch TV while we wait to see the doctor. That's not in Burkina Faso. They're outside days waiting for the doctor to see something as small as it could be something as small as a stomach ache or something as big as a life-threatening surgery. It's basically by whatever is more life-threatening. That's how they do it there. But I'll talk about the surgery because I've seen a lot of people in Burkina Faso with like for lack of not to be graphic, but I seen brothers with nubs, because obviously they had to have their limb cut off and all other type of things that are life-changing, things that could, for lack of a better term, maim you or just leave you physically unable to work or to work to the best of your ability. That's why it really is important for us here to make a relationship to help the African continent with their quality of healthcare and to keep their population thriving and healthy, especially since most of their population are younger folks. So I see here that the possibility of making relationships through donations of medical equipment or medical supplies. Here at Quest Unite Africa, we donated mother newborn kits for countries and for mothers, for young mothers, or first time mothers who didn't have the facilities, not only the facilities or just the 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 tools or the items to successfully and safely have a birth. Things that we take for advantage. I also see here how doctors from America or throughout the diaspora, they could make initiative or take out time to help train the doctors the doctors in Africa, especially train them on more modern techniques of how to alleviate the patient's pain with minimal invasion, minimal invasive procedures or things that are just a lot better and more practical and don't require waste of medical staff or resources. And also we could have radiologists come and show them how to use Dopplers and CAT scans and things of that nature, things here that we all take for granted here in America with our healthcare system and our healthcare infrastructure. So I am not going to keep you long. This was the end of the third episode of Exploring the Motherland. Thank you for your time. Leave your comments in the comment section. Like, share, and subscribe, and enjoy your weekend. Thank you.